Oh, well, hello, my wonderful, beautiful brothers and guys of the wonderful, beautiful Maverick Nation. I am the Dark Shadow Maverick, and we're gonna take a little bit of a, absolute flip some shit upside down, all around, up and down and all around. Because, one of my previous what-ifs, I decided, actually came up with a good idea, and I wanted to kind of, it just didn't seem like it was necessary anymore, so yeah, basically once that shit is done with, like the usual shit is done with, I'll get to that. And that basically being the what if, where Izuku has all the different powers that Ichigo has. Except for instead of Visor, it was Sankara. Instead, I have changed it to what if Izuku was Ulquiorra's son. However, this whole thing, it's gonna be like a little bit of a, daytime hero, nighttime hero thing. There's gonna be a number 2 daytime hero and a number 2 nighttime hero. And there's gonna be a number 3 daytime hero and a number 3 nighttime hero. So yeah, back to back. Basically, Endeavor and I believe either Best Genius or Hawks was the number 3. Work in the day. And the other 2, I have not announced yet, do hero work at night. And even have their own hero agencies. Because, they're that popular. They are the literal number 2 and number 3 heroes. But like night heroes. So, yeah. Basically, the reason why I bring that specific part up is because, in mentioning Endeavor, actually, get into something pretty important, which is the family, the hero family, basically, because, parents are heroes, and, we all know Izuku wants to be a hero. And before anybody tries to, guess, I'm not only going to say it now, but I'm going to say it. It's not only a Quincy who is the ship for Ulquiorra in this, basically, the wife/mom, but it's Sternritter. It's basically like some sort of process of reincarnation BS that ends up with Ulquiorra, reincarnated. But, seeing as he was, right before he died, only just now figuring out what the heart was, basically whenever he would come back, he would kind of be in a little bit of a mental funk. And, meeting this person would kind of turn the light switch on inside of Ulquiorra. Finally, getting him back to stat and allowing for everything else to happen. And, this person is not only a Quincy, but they're a Sternritter. If you guys know what the 5th letter in the alphabet is, You know who the ship is. Rukiora, basically the wife. Because, Stern Runners, it goes like alphabets. So basically, the fifth freaking letter in the alphabet? You basically should indeed know who the ship is. Because not only is it a Quincy, but it's a Sternritter. Then there is the age-old thing. Technically, don't all those hurt Quincy's. Well, I would imagine with Ankarars and, special Sternritters of Yuha's own army, Yuha Bak, his own army, it would kind of be a difference. The only, possible contradiction to that being, the second resurrection, I'd imagine that, there might be some adverse side effects from, if Ukiora were to ever enter the second resurrection around this certain person. Normal form and first resurrection is okay enough, but second resurrection is when Tierra Atapa, the third resurrection, which is in Bleach Brave Souls, and that theme is awesome. Tierra Atapa Ukiora theme is awesome. Basically, Segunda Etapa would be the point where things will get bothersome for the two of them. But they're going to be in the My Hero Academia world. That's basically where they're going to be. In that reality. They're going to be reincarnated into that reality. Both of them. So, not really seeing a need to do that. So, at least not to do it anytime soon. And if Ukiora does realize that Segunda Etapa, hurts, he'd be probably, liking this person, would try to never go into Segunda Etapa again. At least, as less time as possible. And, well, basically, why I mention that. Basically, as we're going here, I don't even know what freaking part we're at. This what if. I'm just making this special announcement because I'm actually, regardless of how my voice sounds, I am very excited. Ladies and gents, we are in part 8. We are in part 8 of What If Izuku Was the Lagiacrus. In part 7, it was basically, the whole preliminaries of the Chunin exams. It was basically Izuku as their Jonin Sensei, and it was Mineta, Hinata, and Tenko. And, basically, Mineta, Tenko, and Hinata all won their fights pretty damn good and well. Basically, a little fun thing to bring up about Hinata. She basically realizes, with all the different ways, like functionalities of chakra, the different ways it works, how, like, most Hyugas, like, they have more of an earth-release style fighting stance, while hers is more water style based, or at least it looks like that. And it's kind of confirmed whenever, she actually does some chakra paper testing, with some of the equipment. And she does indeed figure out, whenever the paper gets all soggied up, that she does indeed have a water affinity. And she's actually thinking that she can put this to good use. Not necessarily like water jutsu, but more or less using the way in which the water affinity affects her chakra to put that to good use. Why would that be, my dear viewers? Oh, well, let's just say, whenever you can literally make it to where your body flows like water, and it's like one place 1 second, another place another second, like literally just freaking teleported. Also known as the Shunpo. Yes, the Shunpo. Basically, cloned off of that. Basically, there have been like several different ancient scriptures about certain things. Like, there's like the Keto spells, the Zanpakuto, and like the other different Soul Reaper techniques, the Soul Reapers in general, and all the other stuff. Hinata actually enjoys reading up about this. Like, there's a whole new other world of shit that she has no idea. Well, she did have no idea. Now she's learning more and more by the millisecond. Possibly even picosecond. Basically, she's, mastered how to use her water affinity of her chakra to, flow into a sort of mimicry of what the Shinigami of a certain time long ago called Shunpo. And she might even be able to evolve it into something that was called, well, basically, only like 1 or 2 people really used it because, the high risk. Like, there was someone known as Soifon, and there was another one who was actually better at it than Soifon. The person who was better at it, that person would have been Yoroichi. Basically, hearing all these accounts of, like, especially all the captains, like, the captains just sound badass. Then she would hear about the substitute Soul Reaper. And she would be thinking that, well, Tatsusaiga basically already has its own lore in the fact that it's basically made of a tooth of a giant demon dog. And, well, Yoru is kind of a collector's item in the fact that it's basically it was the main weapon of a certain person known as Mihawk, who just so happened to have been, of his time, the greatest swordsman alive. The literal greatest swordsman alive. At least of the age of the pirates. Like, whenever pirates were all the freaking rage, he was literally known as the greatest swordsman alive, Mihawk. And, Yoru's just one of many swords that he had. But, it was very legendary because of the fact that it was owned by the, of that era, greatest swordsman alive. So, just knowing that, she kind of has one of Mihawk's sword, one of the swords of the greatest swordsman freaking alive. And, her other sword is basically made out of a fang from a giant demon dog's freaking, like, skeleton. So, yeah. Basically, the only other sword that you have out of a three-sword style is Kusanagi, or the Kusanagi blade, to be more bluntly put. So she would think that this would be the one that she would choose to experiment with. She would be pulling some Mayuri bullshit. Mayuri Kurotsuchi bullshit. As she would just decide, time to literally use her chakra like Ryatsu. Basically, the blade is you. Because it's literally, chakra is literally her energy, so technically the blade would be hers in more ways than one. Just like how it was that way for even the substitute Soul Reaper, Ichigo Kurosaki. How redonkulously strong he was. And Hinata actually took a liking to what she had heard about the substitute Soul Reaper. Thinking that she would indeed use Kusanagi as a sort of basis for, like, almost like a Zanpakuto copier. Like, 1 second it would be like a copy of one Zanpakuto, and the next second it would be a copy of a different Zanpakuto. Not really the real thing, but more or less, like, extremely accurate, like, copies. Not the real thing, but very close to the real thing. Now it would have just been from her chakra alone merging with the sword. The Kusanagi blade. So basically everyone pretty much knows who they're going to fight in the finals. Basically the first match is actually going to be Hinata versus Naruto. Hinata really doesn't like the sound of this, not because she's scared or anything. Actually, no, the exact opposite. She doesn't like the sound of it because she doesn't want to hurt Naruto. Like, she knows that Naruto's strong, but after everything that, her and Tenko and everybody else has been doing, they are strong, like ridiculously strong. Like, insanely strong. So for Naruto to just go up and think that he can defeat her, especially whenever she's come, like, this far, yeah, he ain't letting that happen. It's basically, would actually indeed look, like the two other matches. The next match would indeed be, well, the person who, seeing as basically Gaara is kinda messed with at the moment, he wouldn't have been able to kill Dosu, so it would be Mineta versus Dosu. And, well, Hinata would just be like, poor Sound Village sucker. He would automatically know this guy's gonna get squashed. hard. Because if, the whole Mineta versus Choji thing proved anything, it proved that Mineta actually is a competent fighter. And, well, she would see the third fight that would really... There would only be 3 fights that really interested her all that much. And the third and final fight would have been in between someone that she basically just known as the Uchiha Kid. Even though she knows his real name, Sasuke Uchiha, she doesn't feel like giving him the respect enough to call him by his real name. And it would just be like, it would be Sasuke versus Tenko. Hinata would want to be like, have a lot of confidence in Tenko, but at the same time, just because she doesn't like Sasuke doesn't exactly mean like she doesn't notice that Sasuke does have the ability to become stronger at a very fast rate. It could indeed become a big problem, like in the midst of the finals. People trying to pass and become freaking Chunin. And basically, this is just a thing that they're doing. Team Midoriya. Basically, what's already been discussed is, considering as before all of this, Naruto just lived in a rinky-dinky old apartment. You could barely even call it an apartment. A bunch of compact spaces, which is the only reason why it's not completely screwed over by the rising sea levels. And somehow managed to interconnect it with the rest of the surface. Somewhat. Even Naruto realized it was kind of trailing off to the side. He'd be like cast-awayed. Wilson, I'm sorry. Wilson. And so basically, yeah, that's, how Hinata sees everything. She knows, which battles are going to happen which time, and, who's going to fight who. And these 3 fights that, she views to be the most important. Her fight against her opponent just so happens to be Naruto. Her just thinking that, if Naruto's smart, he won't let his stubbornness get him, almost possibly killed. Because, Hinata still has the rest of trying to get prepared for the finals, to train the Kusanagi blade to be able to become any Zanpakuto that she can actually remember. If she can remember down to the finest detail, she's basically used her chakra to basically make the Kusanagi blade able to perfectly mimic, pseudo-perfectly mimic any Zanpakuto. Even down to, the freaking Shikai and possibly even Bankai, but, she doesn't want to murder anyone, so she's really on the fence about actually using Bankai. Unless, feels needed. What the frick? You guys see here, I got Kakashi Hatake, Naruto. One second, guys. I'm gonna, stop time and see if I can find any sort of refreshments in the refrigerator. Anyways, the water door. And time resume. What? I seem to have also got myself some M&M's peanut because it's yellow. It's the only time I'll prefer yellow over red. It's because peanuts. Jesus, that is so freaking good. Now I remember some. This would basically Naruto talking about. Well, he basically has nowhere to live. Music would be like, we're all family here. Come on. And your financial situation, basically your only solid job being the force of death, and now you're pretty much falling flat. And Uncle's just like, wow, was it that obvious? And Izuku would just be like, well, from your facial expression, yes. Like, your facial expressions, yes. It's very, very obvious. And plus, Kakashi can't keep a secret to save his damn life. And Uncle would just be like, where the hell is the mask-wearing bastard? She would just have a knife with literally, like, in black marker, like where the blade part is, literally have written on the blade, Kakashi Hatake. Literally, it would have his name written on it. She would have wrote that fast. That's how angry she would have been. Izuku calms Anko down the only way he knows how. The only way he knows how being, the best way he knows how. Basically, taming the beast with the promise of happy fun times later on. Yeah, Anko. I didn't say it before, I'm gonna say it now. She's the ship. It would basically come up to the day of the exams finals, and up in the stands, basically Anko and Naruto, because they were both accepted, they would pretty much be with the rest of the crew, because technically, basically everybody else are also civilians, so we can't really turn them down if they want to see the Chunin exams. You guys may be wondering, like, what are Dirge and Hydrus doing? Oh, well, due to Dirge and Hydrus literally getting in touch with Izuku to warn him about some bad mojo jojo they're sensing. Yeah. They've basically just been given the roles of extra village guard muscle. But hey, the Hokage can't really argue with that. I mean, even in an event like this, if this village is gonna get someone is gonna try to attack it, might as well, basically you would think that both Dirge and Hydrus would be on the outside, but actually no. Dirge would be Dirge would be on the inside, and Hydrus, seeing as there's like several water areas, like near the village, like in like the forest, like the hidden leaf forests, like near the entrance to the village. So anyone trying to get in who hasn't already gotten in, who's an enemy of the leaf, basically Hydrus will just come out of nowhere and F their shit up pretty damn good. So yeah, basically both ways pretty protected. Like Dirge literally coming out of the freaking ground anybody who's trying to attack anybody. And also something, else, Dirge and Hydrus would actually go to Gaara, and Gaara would be kind of scared. He would still be healing. But they would inform him, it's because of his tailed beast that he's able to understand them. But, they wouldn't inform him about the fact that the person who is responsible for basically, their plan, the whole plan that they were, planning, Sand and Sound uniting to take down the Leaf. Basically, the leader of the Sound people just freaking murderized his father not too long ago. And Gaara would not know how to feel about this. He would just be, he would kind of, really be beside himself. Not even Shikaku would be able to get him out of his freaking stupor. He'd just be beside himself completely. Like, literally, the leader of the people that they're allying themselves with, not too long ago, they just freaking murderized his father without him even knowing. And technically, they're using his skin, to impersonate as him, so that they can get close enough to the current Kage and, execute them. Like, take them out and, completely just... They called it the Konoha Crush for a reason, you see? And well, basically, Gaara would finally, instead of only loving himself, only caring about himself, he would finally do a selfless act. A truly heroic act. He would go to, well, kind of remove himself from his, hospital room and warn people that weren't already put under some sort of genjutsu. Depending on what time Gaara actually got to certain people, who would be awake and who wouldn't be awake. Basically, he would try to warn whoever he could about this factoid. Several factoids, actually. You would think, I guess some people wouldn't think, with Gaara being himself, like how he was before, nobody would believe him. But that's just the thing. How he was before and how he's acting now are so totally 180-degree difference. Even his, brother, Kankuro, and sister Tamari are starting to really get concerned. Gaara's freaking the frick out, and then they start to actually realize he's messing with the plan. Why is he actually trying to ruin the plan? And, they really technically aren't actually listening. They're only listening to the parts that they technically, as of recent, been wanting to hear. They aren't listening to the entire story that Gaara's trying to tell. And this is, really bad, because if, his, Sand siblings won't listen to him completely, then, what hope does he have to, actually get out the truth to everyone before it's too late? And actually, Gaara, basically figuring this out pretty early on, he actually decides, to plead with his, tailed beast. Plead with his tailed beast to give him power, like how Kurama gives Naruto certain power, during the war arc, gave him the power to replace Kakashi's eye, gave him the power to basically save Guy's life after he used the 8th Gate of Death. Basically, Gaara basically pleading with his Jinchuriki, basically pleading to give him the power, to basically, there's releasing yourself from a genjutsu, but, Gaara isn't really focused on that all that much, because, the tailed beast can just release him from the genjutsu without him even really having to ask. If, that were actually to happen to him. What Gaara's worried about is, because not everyone is listening to him, he's actually worried about, actually making sure that more people than not actually, are able to be released from the genjutsu so that they can, help. More people that can help, the better chance, that not everything ends up getting screwed over. And, Shikaku was just finally just fine, whatever, what power do you need? You weren't very specific. Kid, you weren't very specific. And Gaara would just, kind of be Shikaku, I need... You see, it's this. He just holds a sign to, release the genjutsu. Basically, Shikaku sees this and is, able to put 2 and 2 together. You want to be able to release those from the genjutsu that have already been affected. because they won't be able to release themselves, unlike us. And Gaara's like, exactly. And, well, Shikaku's like, fine, it will take a little bit, but I will indeed, yeah, I guess, give you this ability. Whatever, just don't, like, go gung-ho with it. Like, understand the kind of powers that be you're messing with, kid. No, Shikaku just being an absolute asshole. Ah, you almost made me hurt myself. You almost made me put Mountain Dew down a very bad airway. Ah, Tilly. From the noose, Tilly. Go nuts. Yeah. Love you too. Thank God he finally freaking, shut the door all the way this time. It's rare that he actually does that. Basically, Gaara is able to successfully, help with the releasing of people from the Genjutsu. And, considering the sand is already protecting around his body, any sound ninjas that are starting to suspect some shady shit and actually trying to get, the sand ninjas that already know about Gaara's power to help them take him out, the sand ninjas just be like, you sure about that? Because they know better. But, the sand ninjas just being dicks, just make them do it anyways. And they both get just, blasted the shit out. Screw you, asshole. Fuck you, asshole. Yeah. I forget what movie that's from. Well, anyways, that's all future stuff. The whole Konoha Crush thing is kind of happening in between matches. It's a very step-by-step, paint-by-numbers type operation that Orochimaru is running here. The chart says... Never thought Orochimaru would be that kind of guy. The chart says... Anyways... Well, basically, the first match that we will focus on, is basically going to be Naruto versus Hinata. Now, you don't have to try to be as polite as possible about this. Just telling Naruto that it's not gonna work. Just don't embarrass yourself. Look, I know your whole ninja way thing, but just Naruto, it would be better if Like, for both of us, if you just give up, man. You know, it's basically like Naruto would just start to get angry. You know, he would spark up with the red chakra. And Hinata would see this, and, well, one thing Naruto would hear from Hinata is one type of Zanpakuto that Kusanagi can turn into. A Zanpakuto I'm aware of, very aware of, actually. Zangetsu. Yes, Zangetsu. Basically, she just pops it out in, like, Shikai state. It's already in its Shikai. And so, like, the spiritual pressure just blows Naruto back. But, you know, he gets, like, kind of like a Cadillac landing, where he's, like, more pissed. And just, like, blind rage at this point. And basically would just be like, well, I guess then I no other choice. She'd just hold the sword out. And she'd be like, Bon Kai! And be like, Tensa Zangetsu! It would just be like, Bon Kai! Tensa Zangetsu! Yes, it would literally be Tensa Zangetsu. And, you know, just like the big ass freaking black and red Getsuga 10 shows. Oh, she would have actually, Hinata would have actually harnessed some of the power of the hollow through the sword. And, you know, from it, she would actually start to kind of slip away into the madness before she could really get completely consumed within the identity of the hollow white. You know, before white could completely consume her personality and her mindscape and everything. Basically, you know, a Bill thing. Basically, what happened there is, well, as sort of like a last-ditch effort, when Hinata would finally realize what was going on with the white, like he was trying to do now that he was finally in the picture for once, you know, with Hinata trying to basically one-for-one copy, she gets the one-for-one copy. You know, with, you know how they say, like, batteries not included? Well, with this, they like, Hollow Ichigo / white included. Basically, Tensa Zangetsu, white included. White definitely included. That is until basically, like, Getsuga Tensho! Just release out all of the freaking energy. And all of, like, the different, like, wavy, like, movements of the chakra surrounding Naruto. All the red chakra would just turn into a spiraling attack of randomness that would head straight towards concentrated blast of what we all know as the Hollow Getsuga. Or at least not really the Hollow Getsuga, but more or less you know, the Bankai version of the Getsuga Tensho. Because the Hollow Getsuga, also something I like to call it from time to time, the Black Getsuga. I either call it the Hollow Getsuga Tensho or the Black Getsuga Tensho. Either one, it's either one. I mean, Ukiura mentioned that it was comparable to, like, Iseroskoros. So, yeah, that's the thing. That, is there. But what's no longer there is because of the, basically, Hinata would have expelled all of, like, the Ryatsu from, like, her sword, basically not only defusing the Bankai, but defusing the Shikai and just defusing the Zanpakuto form altogether, returning it all the way back to just regular Kusanagi. And, well, basically, Hinata would sheath Kusanagi and then go for Yoro. And Naruto, basically panting, would literally have his head with his eyes basically looking at the ground, barely able to stand up. And so Sheath would actually do just a small stab, just a tiny little poke. Even whenever, Mihawk was using his tiniest sword, he was still able to beat Zoro and his three-sword style. So basically, she would just try to replicate that little tiniest sword poke whenever she was basically trying to, basically the equivalent of a mercy killing for Naruto. And he would just be out. Team Midoriya ain't gonna be softies for anybody. But, Izuku wouldn't ask for the medical staff to kinda have a little checkup, like a medical checkup on Hinata, because Izuku, Mineta, and Tenko, they all realized that what just happened there. White trying to control, like, her subconsciousness and become the personality, try to influence, and, it was almost like it was starting to form the Hollow Mask. But, basically, yeah. White was indeed trying to take over. And, it could indeed be seen that was trying to be happening. So, Hinata would get a clean bill of health, because nobody would be able to actually realize what was actually going on. Because, the days of Shinigami long gone. Days of Shinigami and Quincy are long gone. Long gone. So, yeah. You're not just basically just giving her a clean bill of health. However, she does indeed feel like she needs a rest. After all, she did just release all of her Reiatsu in one big ol' Bankai version Getsuga Tensho right into Naruto as he was, splurging more and more into the big ol', like, ravine of, Biju chakra that is the Nine Tails. Those two forces clashing against each other. Basically, it's just Naruto using the nine tail, like, aura state, not really tails, just like aura flowing around. So it's not even a one tail state. So yeah, the Gatsuga Tensho probably would indeed like just smack, even if it wasn't a Bankai. The Bankai whole thing was just overkill on the part of Hinata, but technically she was indeed trying to get rid of all of the Ryotsu, not, to kill Naruto, but to make sure that White didn't completely control her. If you don't know what I'm talking about, whenever I say White, it's basically Ichigo's hollow version of himself. The hollow that basically responsible for Hollow Ichigo, White. So basically, in a way, Hollow Ichigo is White. The Hollow named White. So in a way, White kind of lives on through that of the many, trials of Ichigo Kurisaki's, life as a substitute Soul Reaper. Shinigami, Death God. Basically, the next fight that they would see is Mineta versus D.S.M. And basically, what would happen is, right as D.S.M is about to use one of his sound attacks, like the one attack that he used on Lee and Cannon and the Force of Death that he called the Wall. He's about to try that shit on Mineta. He gets close enough to Mineta, and Mineta is just jazz hands on this guy's ass, and he just freaking instead of the wall, Mineta would call this technique that he's about to use break the wall. Break the walls down, Chris Jericho style. Basically, break the wall, basically just being what happened with Sero whenever he fought Shoto in the sports festival in Canon. So yeah, basically, but instead of just pure ice, all of the elements that Mineta is able to use, he would have actually fused together to create just magical crystals. And so instead of just freezing him solid in ice, he would have literally frozen him solid in solid crystallization mode. And this attack, he did indeed dub break the wall. Which does indeed make more sense whenever you consider it's technically a two-part attack. The first part is the encasing of the person in the crystal, and the second part being the crystal basically breaking from the top so that all of the crystals fall, crystal material falls on top of the person who was previously caved inside, and this would just knock them the frick out. If not impale them at several different places. Yeah, Dosu was just done, son. And you want to go talk about sound being fast? This is the literal elements themselves. Sound itself is an element. So these these elements that carry around sound would actually be more, actually like faster than sound, because they would technically be the things that, all of that. Basically, the attack, break the wall. Just one attack and boom, down. Just gone. Gone with the freaking wind. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker! Cowboy baby! As for the third match, it will basically, be, well, Sasuke doing his shit, showing up at the last minute with Kakashi, his thing. Anko basically trying her best to hold herself back from running up straight up to Kakashi and slitting his throat. Yeah. So, yeah. Basically, Sasuke would be in the middle of the arena, and basically all sand would, pick up in the middle of the arena, and also you would just see, you would see Taiko, and you would just be like, I have to fight the emo now. First I have to fight Mr. Eyeliner, now I gotta fight the emo. That's just fan-freaking-tastic. Sasuke just like, it's not freaking emo to feel the way I do because of the fact of what happened. And Taiko was like, true, but whenever you're constantly going on about it, that's whenever it gets emo. And what are you constantly doing? You know exactly what you're constantly doing. So, yeah, emo. Basically, some crazy taijutsu speed will be just popping up in and out and everywhere, But a thing about Shigaraki is, well, even if he were to hit him, he'd just explode in the sand. And, if he didn't want to get hit and blow up in the sand, he could just dodge. Because, well, basically, something you guys didn't know because I didn't really mention anything like this. Well, with the gears that, basically Shigaraki, with the whole, gears, gear 1. Not really gear 1, it's a gear 2nd, gear 3rd, gear 4th. But he hasn't really dabbled into gear 4th yet. He's basically gone from adept at gear 3rd to perfecting gear 3rd. Perfecting the hell out of that shit. And even being able to, do a perfected, Red Hawk in gear 3rd. And so, Sasuke, he just lets Sasuke show off his speed. Have some fun, tearing him apart, turning him into sand. Blowing in the wind. Shigaraki's just okay, fine, I'm done. And Sasuke's just wait, what? And he finally realizes something. And it's basically you're 3rd. And Sasuke's shit. From the look he's giving me, he's definitely learned how to control that shit better. and his fist is starting to go aflame. He might actually be trying to rally up a Red Hawk. Well, I have something for you. He basically just does this thing where he goes from the top of the whole area all the way down, like gaining speed. Chidori! 1,000 chirping birds! And, it would just be a colliding thing. Basically, freaking armament all around Shigaraki, basically increasing his speed. He wouldn't really need the area around him to increase his speed. He would just need the armament to be able to do it. He can control it better because it's him controlling it, not, the area around him controlling it. It being his speed. And also his ability to control his speed, because it's, just him, and not out, any, external force that's, carrying him. Not only does he not get tunnel vision, like what usually happens with the Chidori, basically, well, it doesn't even really happen with Red Hawk at all. There's no tunnel vision involved. But, well, there wouldn't be any tunnel vision involved in general, because, he just got to this extent where he was basically bling bling, just 1, 2, and, you're done, son, you're done. And this would happen whenever basically you would just hear Chidori, and then you would just hear Red Hawk, and then there would just be this big explosion, and then you would just hear, it's a signal, and then all the things would come down trying to put people to sleep, but then Gaara would release the Genjutsu, and so everybody would actually still be awake, wondering what the hell that was, and then the sound and Sand Ninja would be like, fuck, we're screwed. They're screwed even worse than in canon. So yeah, nobody's asleep. And they just get mollywopped on. Gaara hasn't even gone berserk. Basically, Orochimaru and, company were just getting a little panicked. A little too panicked. And so they just threw out the signal all willy-nilly. Against Orochimaru's better judgment. This, proves to really bite him in the ass. In the form of, well, Gaara actually, he really didn't get to do anything in the finals except for release all those people from the Genjutsu. With the help of his tail beast. And basically he's like, Shikaku, you're more of someone like a tail beast who likes murder, right? Well, I think we know someone we would like to kill. Especially because, well, just kind of, person they are. Terrible snake. And Shikaku's just like, oh, Orochimaru. Wait, that old guy, that old fart. He's fighting him. Wait, wasn't he a student once? I don't remember. It's hard to remember certain things whenever you've been alive for so damn long. Gaara would just be like, he would just be like, Third Hokage of the Land of Fire, I am Gaara of the Desert, and I am here to help you. And, Orochimaru would take Hiruzen's moment of surprise, as, key for him to just, drop him. And, basically Hiruzen would be like, oh, no, you don't. And Gaara would be like, oh, no, you don't. Just sand smack Orochimaru right into his Edo Tensei, little thing. He was about to summon Minato, he gets smacked all the way into that. That unsuccessful summon. Just gets smacked all the way over there. And Gar hit him so hard, Orochimaru was he's kinda, well, concussion worthy much, Well, something about this will, come up. Well, basically, there'll be a little thing, a little scroll in, Hiruzen would have, and Gar would be like, what's that? And Hiruzen would basically plainly state, Monkey King Enma summon! Boom! He would just summon the Monkey King Enma, and, basically the Monkey King Enma would turn into the, big old staff thing that he has. The adamantium staff. And, he'd basically be like, if you're actually here to help us, you need to listen to me, and listen to me good, boy. Or, as you said, Gaara. And Gaara would be like, his words are stern, but there is a tint of kindness behind them. Safeguarded by a sense of, well, any sort of sense that would come off of someone who was trying to protect their land. You would just sense that, really and truthfully, this guy was a really good person. And, this would just piss Gaara off, Gaara finally getting his, whole reality flipped upside down. He would hate Orochimaru's guts for basically twisting their hands in this situation. And not only that, but his father, the fourth Kazakaze, Narasa, is dead because of this guy. And they were, working for him. And he probably wasn't even going to, pay it back in full. Whatever they got out of this. If they got anything out of this. So, yeah. Basically, Gaara was like, oh, don't worry. I'll do something. I'll do something indeed. And then, Gaara would just be like, play awesome jutsu. And he would just turn into the Shikaku monster form. But he would only go this far. Because literally, he would just give Hiruzen the look, you don't have to worry about the Edo Tensei anymore. Because literally, they're kind of just fodder sound ninjas, with the coat of paint of that of Hashirama and Tobirama. So, yeah, they're not really the real thing, not even anywhere close to that level of power and skill and experience and everything else comes with that. And so, basically, this would make things a lot easier, actually. And, well, and this, it would not be because of Hiruzen's death, in which, there was a new Hokage being searched for. It will be because he was just ready to retire. Yeah, that's right. Basically, with Gaara's help, Gaara becoming the Hashikaku form, he would have basically been able to, pick and prod off of 2 Edo Tensei summons. They're pretty weak sauce Edo Tensei summons. And, it would basically get to the extent to where it would, Hiruzen would just get to smack Orochimaru around, and then finally, Kabuto would show up, and, well, just, kind of GG no re them out of the whole entire situation. This giving, Hiruzen extra reason to request that there be a new Hokage. Because if he's gonna get out of office, there definitely now needs to be someone to be there. And Gaara actually volunteers to possibly, help with this. Whenever they're, finally getting everything together for this mission, he's actually mulling it over and thinking, if he should actually help or not. Just thinking. And so, yeah, basically back at the base, everybody will just be hanging out, basically being informed that, everybody who participated, that was a part of the whole thing, basically, they're tuning now. Yeah. What in the actual hell? So, yeah. Not much in the way of this what if for now. Or this whatever you consider. So, yeah. Take that however you see it. And well, basically, Darkshadow, remember Gazouti out here. You boys like, favorite, subscribe. Hit that little bell. Something in the comments section. Bounce like a Squidge around blue suede shoes. Eat, and all the eat. Mr. Freaking Reaction.